Take a moment and think about your physical network infrastructure. Think about the servers that are contained on them. Now, when you're looking across your network, you've broken your network up into different subnets, probably trying to isolate some traffic between groups of servers to get a little bit better performance. You might have private networks set up that you're using either for lab testing or maybe private networks to between clustered machines. You might have some servers that you've put multiple network interface cards in so that you could increase the performance and have some fault tolerance if a network interface should fail. All of these network design requirements that you've set up on your network came from extensive planning and understanding the traffic patterns and the networking needs that, well, you needed for your environment. Well, we can do the same thing in Hyper-V. And the Hyper-V network virtualization, HNV, that allows us to configure all this in Hyper-V requires the same amount of planning. We still have to understand why we're doing what we want to do, but we can certainly achieve those same goals and results with our virtual machines. And that's what we're going to look at in this particular module. So what are we going to get started with? We're going to start off with how to configure Hyper-V virtual switches. And we have different switch types. These switches, these layer 2 software switches, will allow us to have direct external access or even just private access. So we can put servers on a private network. And then going from these different ways to configure these switches, we want to start to look at some of the network performance and the network performance features that we can add to this. Now, every single network adapter has to have a MAC address. And the same thing occurs in Hyper-V. We can control what MAC addresses our virtual machines get. We can even specify our own static ones if we need to for special cases like software licensing or filtering. And while there is virtualized ways to do network isolation that we'll even start off with the private networks, you might want to go further with your network isolation and isolating your traffic between servers. And we can do this by working with VLANs on our switches, and we can make VLANs in our virtualized environment. We also want to stop by and make sure that you see a clear difference between the synthetic and the legacy virtual network adapters. Basically, the newer synthetic adapters give us more features, and sometimes that can be confusing if you have an older VM or an older VM setup that's using legacy virtual adapters. And I want you to see how to tell the difference. And then one of the biggest performance enhancements that you can make to not only your virtual machines, but also your Hyper-V host is the use of NIC teaming, getting more bandwidth available. And I want to show you a couple of different ways to be able to do that. So what do you say we get started at the very beginning with configuring our Hyper-V virtual switches?